Sometimes we go too deep too soon. And it's a one mistake that can cause your client attraction to fall flat. I have made it numerous times myself, so I'm going to share it with you. And so most people lead from a center that's deep in their programming. And when I say center, I'm thinking your human design, your energy center, your chakra, or you can define this in so many different ways. I use human design as a tool for defining it, but we all have these different energies that emit from us that we can tap into, that they're reliable. We have them at our disposal. We use them all the time. We might call them different things. Like you might say, well, I always seem to have the stamina for that. Or, I can always carry other people's emotions if I need to move through that. I'm really good at helping people understand themselves. Like we call them different things, but you can also use human design as a tool for these. And so I want to share with you what happens is a lot of times we're leading from this center that is deep in our programming. And I don't mean like programming, it can be, but it doesn't have to be like that conditioned layer on top. It's just what we know we're so good at and we do in our programs. But it's often not the one that's felt first. So what I do as a practitioner of human design and someone who studies and creates reports, the first thing that I do is I listen. I listen to everything that you say, and I'm looking for where you're working the hardest, where thing feels efforted. And it's a weird thing. I actually viscerally feel it in my body and mentally, like I have this thing of like metal screeching on metal. I don't actually physically hear it, but I get this sense of like what that is. Like if we all imagine fingernails on a chalkboard or a dry erase marker on a whiteboard, that squeak. We all know what that sounds like, right? So we can bring it up. And that's what ends up happening to me when I start looking at someone's questionnaire that I take in, or if they're looking to get a report, what I've met with them, what I've gathered from them. And I listen for all of that because I'm looking to refine where they're using their energy and find, to be able to find the clarity in it, to remove the noise, as they say. And so next I look at where your strength lives. And I know human design is a fabulous tool for breaking these up into different centers. There's 9 centers. And so each of them are in here. We all have all of them. We are all of them. It's just that some of them are stronger within us. And we often in human design talk about them being defined or undefined, activated or not, where we have consistent access to it. And sometimes we have a lot of these centers activated. And especially when we have a lot of the centers activated, it gets a little bit confusing. And so I look to see where the strengths are in your chart. I look to see what you're pulling from, and I look for the one that has natural ability that comes through effortlessly. And I know it because when I see it in the words they use or when they talk to me, I feel lighter. I don't feel like, wow, that's a lot to hold. I actually physically feel lighter. And so we have the different ones here. At the very top, you have the head center, which you can think about inspiration. Conceptualization is the ajna. The throat center is more about communication. Identity right here is your purpose, your direction. The spleen is all about well-being, vitality, your survival. Sacral, think about it, as its generator, its gut response, it's generative energy. And in the root, you have like that drive and the stamina and willpower. It's about your values that lets you stick with it. And then your solar plexus is all about emotions and the birth of creativity. And so this is me. This is what I want to show you. So I go through and I look and I see where things are defined or not. When it has a color, so all these ones that have colors to them that's not white, those are defined. They're activated. I have a lot that's activated. This is why too many times I have led with the center that I do when I do one-on-one coaching, or if I've done a workshop, or if I work on a project base. 100% I use this day in and day out. I have this strength. It comes easily. But it's not the first thing that people feel from me. And it's the one that I often put forth the most effort in trying to make sure that it comes across right. So right there, that's a clue for you. If you find like you're really working hard towards it, it's probably not the frequency that people feel from you first. And so I'm going to share with you how this comes up in content. This is my personal, I rewrote it. So I write things out, and oftentimes, you know what? Let me show you what I call it the red frequency. It's the one that people feel most. So the ajna right here, the conceptualization, where that is the one that I've worked on so hard much of my life to be able to design into things, to analyze and to think about what the end user is going to use it. And, you know, it's all based off of information. It's all based off of data for the most part. And I've worked very hard at those skills because I learned to read sales reports as a fashion designer so I could become a better fashion designer. I analyze trends. And as a professor, of course, I analyzed different teaching methodologies so that I could reach a greater number of our students, and how when they didn't seem to be picking up something, what more I could do. I've used this day in and day out for my life, right? And in business, of course, I am using this. I'm conceptualizing, I'm running data, I'm checking things, right? I'm logical, rationalizing things. But however, the thing that people feel from me first that's so effortless, and I never in my life until I started studying human design put any weight on it. I was like, well, who would want that? That's fluffy foo-foo. Like, it's not important for anything that I'm doing. And for me, that is the solar plexus, which is emotional, like clarity, emotional clarity, you could think of it, or emotional grace is how I refer to it, emotional safety. And not only that, it really is the center where we have the birth of creativity and innovation. And I've been a creative my whole life. And so, hello, it's just too easy. It was like, no, that's just something I do, you know, it's no big deal. So I've always ignored it. So I want to share with you, this is content directly from my post that I recently was going to post. But when I write my posts, they often come out in this more mind-driven way, to the point. Haven't we all been taught that, right? To be more consistent, to be more to the point. So yeah, here it is. Sometimes it's one post, just a test. They lead with their red frequency. So my red frequency is the solar plexus. That's what I call it. It's the thing that's felt. That energetic signature that lives in their design. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this, except it's not how people experience me. That's the only thing that's wrong with it. So I rewrote it so that it is more from this emotional solar plexus, this emotional grace, the creative, in the way that you might express, and it's a little bit more poetic, and that aligns with me. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll know that I have switched over this past year. It took me a little bit because I wasn't sure exactly how to do it. I played around. I just knew what I was writing there at the top wasn't working, because I can tell you how I know it wasn't working. I wasn't getting the signups that I wanted to. All my work was coming through referrals, people that I already knew. I wasn't reaching a new audience, and I wanted to reach a new audience. And comments oftentimes just repeated a line that I had in there, or was completely, off, or they didn't understand what I was saying. They would say something else. I'm like, that wasn't my point. This is how I know it wasn't working. Also, in my DMs, I got flooded with people pitch slapping me to get their services because they read into me that I didn't know what I was doing. And you know what? I didn't know what I was doing. But now, this is what I do at the bottom. So this is how I switch it. So sometimes I still write from that ajna center, but then I go back and I rework it so that it's coming from my solar plexus. So here's a rewrite. Sometimes it takes just one post, a quiet test. Now let's just read those two things. Sometimes it's one post versus sometimes it just takes one post. there's something a little bit more gentle about it. Again, sometimes it takes one post as very analytical thinking, right? It just takes one. It's simple, it's concise. But sometimes it just takes one, softens it just a bit, versus just a test, a quiet test. It's not just a test, it's just a test. Just go ahead and do it. That's how I think about that. But no, this is like a quiet test. We're feeling it out. Versus they lead with the red frequency. Straight to the point, exactly what it is. But for me, that doesn't jive because that's not the area that I lead with. You speak from a place inside you that doesn't need permission. I mean, doesn't that sound more emotional and warm and welcoming and like I can create from that space versus do from that space? That energetic signature that lives in their design. Well, it's all true. That's exactly what I want to say, but I can say it from a different way. Your emotional clarity, your creative pulse, your realist yes. And to me, that instantly when I read the difference between these two, sometimes it's one post, just a test. They lead with their red frequency, that energetic signature that lives in their design. Versus sometimes it takes just one post, a quiet test. You speak from a place inside you that doesn't need permission. Your emotional clarity, your creative pulse, your realist yes. Now, some of the differences between these are not just word choices. It's how the pacing goes. The rhythm of them changes because you'll see a lot of the same words are on here, but there's a slight adjustment to the rhythm. I mean, I would even take just a test. So it's just a test, we've all heard that versus a quiet test. Starts with, instead of just, which is a hard sound, which kind of sing-songs you right into it. These little things are little subliminal things or unconscious things that happen to how we receive information. So they're things that I think about when I write now, but merely just knowing that I need to come at it from this more poetic way, this softer emotional side. I can use a lot of the same words, but I just change how I use them. That's what happens. So when someone comes to me, the first thing I do is I notice where you're pushing hard. And then next, I look to see where your strength is in your chart, right? So we went back to here. I see where your strengths are in the chart. And then I show you where your energy lives, where it speaks, where it leads. And everything just feels in harmony and easy.